Hi, welcome to today's Nutrition Call. I'm your host, Coach Brad Taliancich, and joining me today is Leslie Ballard. Hi, Leslie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Brad.
Good. Thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate you getting on here and discussing this topic of eating to lose weight.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm just going to give you credentials real quick. You hold a BS in dietetics and a master's in health promotion, correct?
Correct.
Great. And you're a local dietitian and health educator in the greater New Orleans area and the North Shore.
That's correct.
Great. Well, I'm going to let you touch on eating to lose weight. You and I both know in the fitness profession how many times we deal with people who complain or don't see weight loss when they're dieting or exercising, and hopefully we can help with some of their questions today.
Absolutely. I have so many people that come to me and say, Leslie, I don't know why I'm not losing weight. I only eat once a day. And I think to myself, well, that's exactly why you're not losing weight. When you only eat once or twice a day, you're causing your body to be in store fat mode. And none of us want to be in store fat mode. We all want to be burning calories and burning fat consistently throughout the day. And the only way to do that is really to eat about every 3 hours. When you go longer than 3 or 4 hours without eating, your metabolism shuts down. Our bodies are made to store fat for times of famine. So your body's just doing what it's made to do. But the only way to prevent that is eat small portions every 3 or 4 hours. That way your energy levels stay up and you're burning fat and calories consistently throughout the day.
Oh, that's great. When you say smaller portions, how does a person decide what the right portion is based upon their body weight, height, female, male?
Well, it really depends on how many calories you need throughout the day, but for really easy references, they can always go and look at, My Pyramid or, the ADA website is eatright.org, and really you can read labels as well. Look at the portion size on the back of whatever it is that you're eating. But it can get confusing. For example, a serving of almonds is only 10 to 12 nuts. So that's not very much, and a lot of people can sit there and eat a whole bag of almonds and not realize that they're really overdoing it on what they're eating.
Right, that's definitely the truth there, and I know a lot of people do worry about serving size. And when you take a serving size for a meal, or you say small meals, is it true the rule of thumb that you go by about the size of a deck of cards or your fist?
That's true for the deck of cards is about 3 ounces, and that's true for any of your servings of meat. So if you have chicken, fish, turkey, you want it to be about 3 ounces, which is the palm of your hand or a deck of cards. Your fist is about a cup. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have a cup of blueberries, eyeball it, it's about the size of your fist.
Okay, great. That's a lot. I know that many people, especially the clients that we work with in the personal training, are always asking what the proper servings are.
Yes, absolutely.
How does nutrition help to build muscle?
Well, when you work out, you're actually breaking down the muscle tissue. So that just opens up the environment for you to rebuild your muscle stronger, leaner, toner, which is what we're all going for. However, if you don't have the right nutrition in your body, your muscle cannot rebuild. So you're just constantly breaking down the tissue every time you exercise. But if you put in the right amount of protein and the right amount of calories, then that nutrition is there to support muscle growth. That way, when you work out, you're actually, once you break down the muscle, then the nutrition goes in to rebuild it.
Great. Okay, so that it's definitely important to get that protein and the proper nutrients to help your body function the way it's meant to.
Absolutely, especially post-workout. You really do have to focus on getting a good source of protein after your workout.
Okay, and the post-workout is basically going to help those muscles in the rebuild and recovery stages?
It's your recovery stage, yes.
Okay, great. And another question that we have is, why do you hear eat more to weigh less? When so many people think that if they eat more, I mean, obviously you touched on it with starvation mode, but can you go into a little bit more details of why we want to eat more to weigh less?
Sure. Have you ever heard the term sumo wrestler diet?
Yes.
That is basically, the sumo wrestlers, what they do to gain their weight is they don't eat all day long and then have one large meal at the end of the day. So what they've done is essentially shut down the metabolism so that your body's, fire is put out. And then when you do put in food, your body stores it all up because it doesn't know when it'll get to eat again. So essentially what you have to do is eat consistently throughout the day so that your energy levels stay up, your metabolism stays up, and when you put the right amount of food in the right combination, you have great energy and you're constantly burning fat and burning calories all day. I have so many people that say, I can't believe how much you eat. You're always eating. How do you stay so thin? It's like, well, that's the key. You have to consistently eat. It's just small portions of the right food.
That's good. And that kind of leads into another question. Actually, we had an email question from Mike, who was asking. He's heard that eating late at night is not good for you, and is that true? And if so, why?
Well, weight gain really depends on how many calories you put in and then how many calories you expend in the day. So it doesn't necessarily matter what time of day you eat. It's all about how much you eat. However, with that said, the reality is that most people who have the habit of eating later at night are usually reaching for more calorie dense foods or the foods that we shouldn't be eating. So I do recommend to my clients that are trying to lose weight that they stop eating around 7 p.m., that they try and make that their cutoff point. This will help prevent snacking on those higher calorie foods that we all tend to look for at night. The ice cream, the snacky type things that we really aren't supposed to have. Another trick is to brush your teeth right after dinner so you won't be tempted to reach for anything else. Because
That's a good one.
yeah, a lot of when you have that minty taste in your mouth, nothing else is going to taste good. So I usually
Right.
recommend people try and brush your teeth right after dinner.
Okay. Now I do have this question. We have a lot of families that are on the go in regards to, they have kids, they're involved in after school activities and sports. So is it correct to say that they're out at practices and they're doing all that and they may not get home till 8:30 at night and they're eating that meal? That's okay as long as they're keeping it a good balance, not
Right.
high like you said in the bad foods. And even if they are going to sleep, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours after that meal, they're going to be okay with that.
Right. It really depends on what you put in.
Okay.
I try and recommend to people not to put in any sort of really high sugar foods because by the time it gets into your body and converts to energy, it's the middle of the night and it's going to wake you up. And so it really depends on what you're putting in. If you can't get home until 8 or 8:30 and you're just now sitting down to dinner, that's okay. Just make sure you control your portion size and that your meal consists mostly of a lean protein and vegetables.
Okay. Now, we were talking about late at night. That leads into another question is we always hear, and I, as a personal trainer, I always tell clients that the breakfast is your most important meal of the day,
Mhm.
but they always ask, why and how can breakfast help them lose weight?
Absolutely. Everybody knows breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and that's because it's called breakfast because you have to break the fast. We sleep for 7 or 8 hours at night, and so your body is in fasting mode. The only way to wake up your metabolism is then to feed it. So even if you eat just a small breakfast, it's going to jumpstart your metabolism and help you burn calories and fat. However, if you wait till 11 or 12 o'clock in the middle of the day to eat, you've lost valuable fat burning time. Also, carbohydrates are your brain's number one source of energy. So if you skip breakfast, you're probably not going to be thinking as clearly as you could have if you'd had some sort of balanced meal right there within an hour of waking up.
Okay. Now, we have another email that came in from Jill who asked, she hears that she should eat before she exercises, but she
Mhm.
works out at 5 a.m. What are some suggestions for her?
It's a really good question, and there are some conflicting opinions on the topic. Some people believe that if you work out on an empty stomach, it's a good thing because it's going to help you burn fat while your glycogen stores are low. Glycogen is the glucose that stores in your muscle. However, if you deplete your glycogen stores, it can really cause injury. It can cause more soreness after a workout, and it can be dangerous for your body. So the answer is yes, you have to eat before you exercise. And I know it's difficult at that time of the morning, but you just want to put in something light that's easy to digest. So an example of that would be like a piece of whole wheat toast with peanut butter or cottage cheese with fruit. You just at that time of the morning, meat would be a little bit harder to digest, so you might not want to put in a meat food, but something really easy like a cheese or a fruit.
Okay. And also, I know people sometimes tend to drink like a breakfast shake or something like that.
Mhm.
Is that something that's good that it's quickly absorbed and doesn't cause any distress on some people's stomachs?
Yeah, the a shake would be pretty easy to digest. You just don't want to watch how much liquid you put in at that time if you're going to be doing a sort of a cardio workout where you're going to be jumping around a lot.
Right.
But yeah, the carbohydrates will are your fastest of digesting food. So if you put in say a fruit smoothie or a protein shake, then yeah, you're going to digest pretty easily and have the energy and the fuel you need to get through your workout.
Okay. Now, since we're talking about working out, what about the person who says, I work out, but I haven't lost any weight?
I hear that a lot from people, and really it's because exercise and nutrition go hand in hand. However, weight loss is about 70% dependent on what you eat and 30% dependent on how much you exercise. So exercise alone is unlikely to promote any weight loss. You actually have to really be careful about what you're eating as well. And at the same time, when you're exercising, you tend to feel more hungry, so people are going to be eating more without even realizing it. So it's so important that you make the right food choices in combination with the exercise.
Okay. Now, you have and I have talked about this before too in regards to people need to also understand that when they are working out and they're eating correctly, like you said, with the added protein in that they are going to be losing fat, but that's going to keep their lean muscle, which
Right.
is going to make them not see as much of a weight loss on a scale per se, but they will see body changes. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's correct. It really depends on the person and what their body composition is. How much fat do they have to lose, and male versus female. But essentially,
Sure.
yeah, at first you might not see a huge drop in weight on the scale because your body composition is changing. You are building muscle while losing fat. That's why it's usually a good idea to take your measurements with and see how many inches you're losing throughout your weight loss process. And judge
Okay,
weight
that's
loss based on your clothing, how it feels, how you feel you look in the mirror, and not focus too much on the scale.
on the scale.
Mhm.
Correct. I mean, we have a lot of people that when we tell them don't focus on the scale, we know that that's the trend of society today is to see that instant gratification. They want to see those pounds coming off on the scale, but it truly, really is a sense of how of well-being and how you feel better overall as part of the process of you changing your lifestyle, not just we say diet in the sense of the term of what you're eating, but we don't want to discuss or have people get into the mindset that they are going on a diet,
No, you're
right?
absolutely right because the word diet feels very temporary. Everyone says, "Oh, I can't go out to eat. I'm on a diet right now," but that means, well, in the future I won't be on a diet and we will go out to eat. So it's just a matter of you're changing your lifestyle. You're making healthy habits that are going to last a lifetime. So you really want to do it slowly and gradually. The recommendation is only 1 to 2 pounds per week. That way, you're making the lifestyle changes that you need. Sometimes when we try and lose weight too quickly, we don't do it a healthy way, and then the weight comes right back.
Right, and sometimes more than that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, talking about the exercise portion too, I hear a lot of conversations about branched chain amino acids when you're working out. Why are those important when a person is trying to lose weight?
Well, branched chain amino acids are basically essential nutrients that the body gets from proteins. There's all these essential amino acids that we have to get, and we get it through food that comes in the source of a protein. Um, Athletes in particular use branched chain amino acids to improve their exercise performance. It helps to prevent or reduce the protein and muscle breakdown during exercise. Some studies have showed that it can help reduce your appetite as well. But really, it is important that we get those essential amino acids because your body can't make it. The only way to get it is through through food or supplements that we take. So it's important to help protect the muscle and protect the protein during our exercise.
Right, and we definitely want to do that.
Mhm.
We have a question from Brandy who would like to know what are the hidden dangers of single-serving low-cal snack packs.
That's a good question because a lot of us have gone towards those 100-calorie packs or grabbing things on the go. We want things that are convenient. So you really do have to read your nutrition label. Anytime you eat something that is prepackaged, you're going to get extra sugar. If you compare, say, eating a protein bar versus eating, say, a boiled egg, in the protein bar, you're going to get sugar, carbohydrates, preservatives. In the egg, you get a perfect, complete protein without any sugar or preservatives. So you really have to read your labels and make sure you're buying healthy products and don't get too stuck in those prepackaged sort of snack aisle foods. I recommend my clients just don't go down the snack aisle in the grocery store because although the convenience of it is tempting, you want to try and find things that are not quite as processed and eat a more natural diet.
And do you find that you catch those people that say, "Oh, I had a snack pack," but they feel like it's okay, but they had three of them at one time?
Absolutely, absolutely. They're single serving snack packs, so that means you
Okay.
have one, and then you really have to ask yourself, if I had 100 calories of the cookies, is that the same as having 100 calories of, say, a piece of grilled chicken? It's not the same at all. You need to be getting things that your body actually needs.
Right. And when you touched on it too about that, in say these snack packs and these sports bars and breakfast bars that are out there, what are the hidden sugars that can affect someone trying to lead a healthier lifestyle that we would want to avoid?
Well, you really got to look at your ingredient list. You know, if there's things that say, oh, there's all sorts of terms for sugar, sucrose, sorbitol. There's a whole long list of things that mean sugar, but that they don't put sugar right there on the label because everyone knows, oh, I don't want to get sugar.
Right.
But you really have to read your ingredient list to be careful that you're not getting in too many extra sugar calories because our body doesn't need sugar.
And I have a question in regards to that. When you're looking at a food label and you
Mhm.
see where it lists carbs,
Right.
and in that carb section, you'll see it usually broken down into fiber or dietary fiber, and
Mhm.
then sugars.
Right.
What would be something that would be an alarm that would go off if we would see a certain number? What ranges do we want to stay in, or do we want to avoid?
You know, that's a good question that I get all the time. People ask, how much sugar should I get in a day? Well, there is absolutely no recommendation for sugar because we only make recommendations for the things your body needs. So you want to look for the least amount possible. You know, when you look at your food labels, there's over to the right side, there's a column that says percent daily value. And that percentage tells you, okay, in this one serving of this food, what percent of, say, carbohydrate am I getting that I would need for the whole day? But they don't put a percentage for sugar because there is no recommendation for it. So you really want to stay as low as possible with the sugar. Now, with the carbohydrates, it depends on the plan that you're on and how many calories and how many carbohydrates you need. Everybody is different. But especially with that sugar part on your label, you just want it to be as low as possible. So if I was eating a cereal, that I was going to eat 1 cup of cereal and get, say, 120 calories, but it was 15 grams of sugar, well, that's an awful lot. You know, I'd want it to be 5 grams or below.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. That's very helpful. We have one last question too. Christy writes in asking, "What are good, healthy snacks for on the go?"
You really want to stick with anything that's not going to spoil. You know, whatever you can throw in your purse or keep in your car. So nuts are a good idea, like almonds, but you have to remember your serving size of nuts is only 10. You can also do dehydrated vegetables or dried fruit. That keeps pretty well in the car. Um, you know, you just want natural foods that aren't going to be too high in sugar, that aren't going to necessarily be something like a potato chip or a candy bar. You could do a protein bar as long as you're watching your calorie and your sugar content in it. But yeah, nuts, seeds, fruit, dried vegetables, those are usually the best recommendations.
Okay, and I'll ask this question in regards to the fruits. Everybody knows that fruits are healthy, but we also hear sometimes that certain fruits contain too much natural sugar.
Yeah.
Is that true? And if it is, what would be an item that we would tend to stray away from compared to something that would be a little bit better choice for you on the go like that?
Um, well, if you're trying to lose weight or you're watching your sugar content, bananas and pineapple are the ones to avoid. You know, those are our highest sugar content fruits. So I really try and recommend to stay away from bananas and pineapples. And most people don't recommend that a serving of banana is only half the banana. So when you eat a whole
Okay.
banana, you're actually getting 2 servings of fruit and about 3 servings of carbohydrate in that whole banana. So if you're watching your weight, it's best just to skip the banana and pineapple and stay towards your berries and apples and citruses. Those are the best way to go.
Okay, and when you're talking berries too, is it better? all berries actually are not bad, but is it try to go with the darker berries too to get that extra antioxidant effect?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, your blueberries are definitely the best berry to get. They're considered a superfood. They're high antioxidants. But all the different foods with different colors have different nutrients. So it just depends on what you're going for. When you do the red fruits like an apple or strawberry, you're getting a lot of cardiovascular benefits. When you do the blue or purple fruits like a blueberry or a plum, you're getting high antioxidants. So it's just you need to get a variety.
Great. And you and I were talking earlier, and this will be the last one I wanted to touch on,
Mhm.
is that when, especially in this area, in the southern area along the Gulf Coast, we have a tendency to eat a lot of crabs, shrimp, crawfish. We hear sometimes that those are some of the foods you want to limit or keep in moderation when you are trying to eat healthier. Is that true, and why is that?
Yeah, that's true. Your shellfish is going to be a higher cholesterol fish. So you do want to limit the shrimp, the crawfish, the crab as much as possible. And especially because of the way we cook it as well. You go to a crawfish boil, you're getting a lot of sodium. You're swollen and bloated the next day. So we do want to limit the amount of cholesterol and sodium we get. So you're better off with your cold water fish, something like tuna or cod or halibut, salmon, tilapia. Those are the types of seafood that you want to try and get more of and limit the shellfish as much as possible just to prevent getting an overboard of sodium and cholesterol.
Well, that's great because we have had that question a lot, and obviously we also know that with those crawfish boils come beer as well, and that
And
all adds
potatoes and
to
corn.
the 1-2 punch that we don't want.
Right, you're absolutely right.
Well, Leslie, I really appreciate you taking the time to discuss this with us today, and I look forward to doing several more nutritional calls coming up. And again, if there's anything you wanted to add, how can anybody, get in touch with you to ask you a question if they have anything?
Oh, sure. Anyone can reach me. I'm a nutritionist at Stone Creek Club and Spa in Covington, so they can certainly call the club and reach me there. I take appointments with anyone. You don't have to be a member of the club, so absolutely anyone from the community can call.
Okay, great. And anyone can also email me. That's advocoach19@gmail.com with any other nutritional questions that we will pass along to Leslie for future calls. Leslie, thanks again, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, great.